Hey, what is up guys? This is Sleet, and I'm back with some more TFT now that patch 10.14 is underway. There are some significant changes this patch, which I'm not going to get into in its entirety, but I'll leave a link in the description to the patch notes as well as to Mortdog's patch rundown for us audio-visual learners. The focus of this video is to discuss a new meta comp that has been cropping up in the PBE as a fairly consistent top 4 build, and that is Star Guardian Protectors. You're definitely going to encounter it, and knowledge is power, so let's get into it. Just a quick disclaimer, I don't purport to be an expert. With my current work schedule, I cannot commit to the grind of climbing the ladder, but when I do play, I try to play methodically and try to understand why things work or not. I'm currently ranked Diamond, but with a modest win rate, so hopefully my observations carry some weight. So what is the Star Guardian Protectors build? I've seen several variations, but the core of the build is generally your 4 Protectors, Syndra, and Soraka. One variant is to add another Mystic like Lulu and another Sorcerer co-carry alongside Syndra like Victor or Xerath. This may be the most reliable since you only need 8 champs. You can try to slow roll to get a 3-star Syndra, and you can also get 4 Celestials with Lulu and Ashe, or a Spat if you have that. Another variant might be to have 4 Sorcerers to up the damage altogether, though I suspect this may be an inferior variant for reasons I'll get into. Another variant might be to pick up 4 Mystics if you have magic heavy opponents. And finally, the build you saw in the intro and at the end of this video is 4 Protectors, 6 Star Guardians. With the proper itemization, I think this may be the best. However, this may also be the most difficult to acquire since it requires 9 champs. Although 6 Star Guardians is no longer a big power spike, so you might be fine with having 5. You may want to consider this option if you are high rolling and healthy, or if you're in the super dense galaxy with the free force of nature. So why does this comp work so well? First and foremost, crowd control. 3 of the 4 Protectors have hard CC abilities that give your carry, such as Syndra, time to ramp up. With the right positioning, you can fairly easily protect your Syndra from harm's way, including infiltrators, blitzcrank, and what have you. To add, your other units may provide a significant source of CC as well, like Janna here. Second would be the buffs to Star Guardians. The Star Guardian trait itself has been nerfed, but each and every Star Guardian champ has been buffed. Because of the champs have been buffed, you have more flexibility to play with them in a set of 3 or even individually. Namely, each and every Star Guardian champ now needs less mana to ult. Syndra in particular, wow, they buffed her mana and her damage. A 2-star Syndra with blue buff will be able to start one-shotting after the 2nd or 3rd time she ults. Also, Neeko is much more likely to get her ult off at least twice in a battle, since she needs, again, far less mana to cast. Third would be attack speed. So, some people think that Jarvan is the least among the Protectors, or at least I used to think so, but not so, especially in this comp. A 2-star Jarvan with even just a 2 Sorcerer buff and no items will more than double your team's attack speed, and consequently make your team ult that much faster. Throw a Janna in there and you are dominating. And with the true damage from auto attacks from your Star Guardians, that may be where the bulk of your damage comes from, as opposed to your spell. And a quick note before we get into the actual gameplay video, I want to talk about the new galaxy called Dwarf Planet. In Dwarf Planet, the back row of each board is disabled, meaning everyone is now compressed into 3 rows. What does this mean for you? 1, less freedom with positioning. 2, more vulnerable backline, especially snipers, sorry guys, because you also all get a damage nerf. And area of effect spells are significantly more effective. On that last point, here are all the champs who have AoE spells, and there are, I think I counted 24 out of the 57 champs. I did leave off the champs whose spells do hit multiple enemies but are not truly AoE, and thus not affected by this galaxy. Since we're talking about Star Guardian protectors, I just want to highlight a few of them. So, Nico's ult stuns everyone within a 2 hex radius for up to 2.5 seconds. That means if you put Nico right in front of their team, there's a very good chance you'll hit most of their team, including their backline. For example, if your enemy is 6 rebels and they have Jinx in the middle, well, Jinx's gonna get stunned. I also want to talk about Ahri's ult. So Ahri's ult hits everything in a straight line within 5 hexes. That means if Ahri's in the second row right behind your tank, which is where she should be in this point, she will tickle your enemy's backline carries with her balls. Just throwing it out there. I'm going to leave a link in the description below to a very detailed Reddit post discussing strategies for positioning Ahri, so I highly recommend you read that. Finally, Jarvan's ult gives his attack buff to everyone within a 3 hex radius. That means he's very likely to buff your entire team, even if he, like he does, moves up to the enemy's front line. As a related side note, I've been experimenting with putting an RFC on Jarvan to guarantee who he buffs. It's definitely a work in progress, but there's definitely some promise to it. So here I knew I wanted to go some sort of sorcerer comp. So I did target the rod or the tier. Thankfully there were multiple of them. Other people seem to have wanted the same thing, so it worked out. So after the minion round, I got a number of sorcerer, Star Guardian champs. So that's good. That's what I wanted. And I also have a sword, a tier, and a cloak. I'm pretty inclined to do something with Shojin, so I put Shojin on TF. He's a good carrier for that. He's ultimately not gonna be the one that holds that unless I, for some reason, 3-star him and do the Candy Lane comp. But for now, that's where it went. So I pick up the Jarvan here, and I'm pretty certain I'm going to try this new comp. It's one that I've already seen other people play and wanted to try for myself. So, yeah, Jarvan goes in. I should also mention that I have another video where I make Annie the tank. She's been buffed in the last patch. She's much tankier. Her shield is much more, it's a bigger shield, and so a Shojin on her as well as some tank items is actually a pretty strong way to play Annie. So I have another video. I'll put a pop-up thingy on the top. So I'm gonna put in the Leona to get the 2 Vanguard buff. That's much more useful right now than a lone Jarvan, but I'm definitely keeping on my bench for the future comp. So I didn't purposely int here, but I did get first pick, so I am going to get the bow. The reason for that is because I already have a cloak, and cloak plus bow equals Runan's Hurricane, which is the best pairing with the Shojins, so that's why I got that.
Let them try to stop me.
So here I just leveled. It's as far as the set 3.5 meta has been so far, it is
Let's raise the stakes.
pretty much everybody pre-levels at 2-1 and then levels again here after the carousel round to get 5. Also wanted to get the Runans on right away so I can stop losing. I think in retrospect I probably should have just put the Mordekaiser in for Leona, but just want to get stuff in right away before the round started. And you also see the 1-star Syndra doing work on my team. With blue buff, a 1-star Syndra is extremely dangerous.
Let the screams begin. Charmed, I'm sure. I love a challenge. Dares defy my will.
So here I pick up the Nautilus and replace it for the Mordekaiser. I rather have the CC than the extra damage that Mordekaiser outputs. So that's my choice, and obviously I'm keeping Poppies to get the 3-star Guardian buff. Although again, 3-star Guardian buff trait got nerfed, so maybe it wasn't that necessary.
Just the luck of the draw.
So I finally got the Nico, so that means I can drop the Vanguards and put her in and put the 2-star Jarvan in. So here I'm debating whether I've properly stabilized or not. I started a 2-win streak. I like to streak even more. So ultimately I decided to level and put in the extra Nico to better my chances to streak. I don't think it would have been a wrong decision to have not done that, because, you know, I'm still top 4, but sometimes I agreed.
Time to go to work.
So here I pick up the Rockin, another protector for my build, but I decided I'd rather have a second Nico because there's really no true benefit from putting in the Rockin now. I don't get the Celestial buff or the 4 protector buff, and just from the round earlier, the 2 Nikos chaining their ult like that, that was pretty good. So I wanted to keep that up for now. So here's that first Nico, and then here's the second Nico. That couldn't have been any better. Just wow. So here I'm looking for items for Syndra and for Nico primarily. I did want the tier first, but you know, that guy got it. And then the second thing I wanted was to get a GA, so that's why I went with the sword. I don't have a chain vest yet, but at least I get one of the components for now. So at first I was thinking, you know, why don't the 2 Nikos ult at the exact same time, you know, and then kind of make it not worth having 2 of them. But the way at least I positioned them, one is getting more aggro than the other, hence their mana bar fills up more quickly. And that's why they're able to chain like that. And I definitely think that's why I won this fight.
Defend the stars. Let them try to stop me.
Time to go to work.
No more Mr. Nice, Nico.
My potential is limitless.
So here I'm definitely debating pretty hard about what to do with my items. I threw a chain vest on, not chain vest, the giant's belt on her for now, just to make sure she ults, gets a tanky enough to ult. Wasn't sure I want to make a Warmogs yet. Although Warmogs is really good for protectors, right? Since their shield is a percentage of their health. But I did wanted to hold out for Morello's in case I got a rod. I also didn't want to put, combine the two gloves to make Thieves Gloves. I'm generally not a fan of Thieves Gloves. I think, it's strong early on since you get to, possibly have up to 2 full items with just these 2 components, but there's definitely stronger things you can make out of them, especially here. I have a sword, and if I get a rod, that makes I can get an Infinity Edge and a a Jewel Gauntlet. That combination is I think the strongest way to increase your magic damage output. So I am holding out for that. I also want to note here that ZZ Rot that I put on Nico there also got buffed. So at 2-star, I think it's 2250 health for the Void minion that comes out. So that's a pretty huge, tank. And I put it over the Warmogs because of that, because Warmogs gives you 1,000 extra health for Nico, but ZZ Rot gives you effectively a 2,000 plus health, and Nico's purpose right now is to just serve as a tank. So I think that was the better item to make on her than the Warmogs. So here I'm definitely eyeing the rod. I could also go with the chain vest and make the GA for Nico, but definitely wanted the IE Jewel Gauntlet combo more. But notwithstanding, just in case I wanted to make a GA, I went with the chain vest.
want to see something cute?
Where am I needed?
I can't help myself from doing mean things. Sorry.
So this is the example fight that I mentioned earlier in the video about positioning in the Dwarf planet and how the backline is more vulnerable. So you saw that Nico's ult was able to reach Jinx in the second row. That was definitely, I think, why I won this fight. At least one of the reasons.
Battle time! Woo, woo! I can't help myself from doing mean things. Sorry.
So I lucked out here, got my rod. I can make both the Infinity Edge Jolt Gauntlet combo as well as a GA.
Behold my power.
But ultimately here I decided I would go with Zeke's Herald instead. I understood this build to be an attack speed build and I wanted to increase my damage output. And Nico was already faithfully casting pretty regularly anyway, so hence deciding away from the GA here.
Just luck of the draw.
Let them try to stop me.
So here I'm up against a guy with two Zephyrs. He was able to Zephyr my Nico and get right past it, but I think Rockin here was the MVP. He was able to ult the enemy's backline carries just like that. and buying time for Nico to come back and my carries to clean up. So this fight is a good example of Ahri's ult, and as you can see right here, even from the back row, she was able to hit the enemy's backline carries. Unfortunately, here in the 6th battle cast, it was able to heal Kog'Maw up quite a bit. So this was one of the reasons why I wanted to get Morello's. So that's a hard counter to battlecast. So if you see an enemy battlecast comp, definitely think about red buff or Morello's to counter them. So in this carousel, as you can see, I definitely want the Janna. That was my end goal anyway, and I'm in great luck. She already has Runan's Hurricanes on her. I'm also a little tempted by the Celestial Spat, but yeah, it's not, no contest there. So, you know, from the very start, like I said, TF was just a holder of those items until I got my Janna. So I'm putting Janna. I want to put Janna in the corner, but I'm putting her second to the corner for now, just in case of a blitzcrank grab. I haven't scouted yet, but I do want to putting her in the corner gives her the best chance to send her ult in the direction of my team, giving all of them the attack speed buff. And another thing I'll just note here is the most optimal way to build a Shojin on somebody is to have 2 Shojins plus a Runans. It's better than 3 Shojins. It's better than what I have here, Shojin plus 2 Runans, if you do the math there. So, but you know, here it's still working fabulously, so I'm very happy with it. So you see me scouting here. The general things that are going into my mind is I want to avoid that Zephyr guy and figure out where he's Zephyring. But the other thing is I generally want to position my team on the opposite side of their team. I may be wrong if that's the optimal thing or not, but like here, this is not ideally what I wanted. I wanted my team to be on the other side. For some, you know, thankfully it worked out here. The Fizz wasn't able to ult until the very, very end, thanks to all the CC. So I knew there was a good chance I would play this guy for real, but I got overconfident because I did win the ghost round just a round ago. So from what I can see, I don't think anything changed. So I'm not sure why I lost this one, other than I guess the lucky fact that Fizz got his ult off earlier.
My potential is limitless.
So this is a pretty nutty fight in terms of showcasing Chana's ult here. I think she gets it off 6 times. Now, I definitely think the other guy should have switched over to 4 Vanguards, 4 Mystics at this point, because I think you know, the battle cast guy doing you know, extra magic damage, and me, he should have pivoted, especially now that I'm doing true damage as well with Janna. Another big change I should mention here is changes to Urgot. So Urgot's been reworked quite a bit, because people were unhappy with him, including myself. I definitely don't like Urgot as a champion in this game, but nevertheless, they did change him such that he's less of a threat. It takes him longer to pull in a champ, so you have a better chance of, if you kill him before he reels it in, it's 3 seconds at level 1, 2 seconds at level 2. Then you can save your champ. Also, he targets not just before it was the farthest enemy within his attack range, but now it's just the farthest enemy, and it stops with if there's any other champ in its way, just like Caitlyn's ult. So it's much more likely to hit one of my frontline champs than my backline,
I will defend the stars.
which is fine with this comp here. In other situations, I'll put a link in the video, but I had a 3-star Gnar right up in front, and what was me? I probably shouldn't have put him right in front anyway, but yeah, losing a 3-star Gnar to a 1-star Urgot, no bueno to my feelings.
For life, have hope. Stars hear me.
And there you go. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys found that helpful. I do enjoy making these videos for you guys, so please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.